Ooh, Jamie with the lipstick. I need coffee. Hi, Brie.
Hi, Brie.
Hello.
Oh my God, I'm so tired.
Ugh, this day. Hi,
Lies.
Bree. Hi, Kimmy. Hi, Tabs. Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Oh my God, boss lips.
I know.
I said Jamie
right?
with the
I know.
lipstick and the nails.
Yes. Looks gorgeous as always, even on
Can't even see it.
17 minutes of sleep.
Yeah, I was actually kind of hoping she'd look like, like she hadn't slept.
One of us.
Just kidding, yeah.
Even though she only sleeps 4 minutes a night,
She's a vampire.
still coming in hot.
She's a vampire.
Coming in hot.
Still coming in hot.
Hello and welcome to Table for Five with no reservations. Take a seat at the table for a fresh, sweet, salty, tart, and pleasantly bitter conversation.
Thank you for taking a seat at the table. Tonight, we are talking with Brianna Olson, who is the author of To Infinity and Beyond Words. And we are going to be discussing her project in her community to get equipment and inclusive items in a park, which is really great. The name of the episode tonight is Making Change, Taking Names. And tonight I have Jamie.
Hello.
Jen.
Hello.
Kim.
Hi.
Rachel.
Hey, everyone.
And Brianna.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you want to do just a quick introduction to your family and your page a little bit, let us know who you are.
Yeah,
We know who you are, but everyone else.
Yeah, I am Brianna Olson. I live in Nebraska with my husband and our son Beckett. He is 6 years old and he is autistic and happens to be nonverbal. I have always enjoyed writing. It's really therapeutic for me. It's something that I like to do to pass the time. I've done it since I was young, and I kind of wanted to run with this and take the opportunity to kind of explain our world to others. That's kind of how it started out, with just wanting to express ourselves to a family that might not fully understand what our world of autism looks like, or what that even means. And then it kind of quickly evolved into advocating past that for other people, and kind of in an attempt to make social relationships easier for Beckett.
And for Beckett, you talked about him being nonverbal. Does he use a device to speak? What is his communication?
Yes, so currently he is kind of in the middle of, we're working with some sign language, but for the most part, we're really pushing at his strengths with an AAC device. So he uses a program on an iPad for that. And we're kind of just taking his lead on that. Whichever road he chooses that he really takes off with, we fully support. So
I love that. We brought you on to talk about this advocacy, which all of us want so many things in the community. To be easier for our kids, have places to take them that work for them, and a community that understands that, and just a place that's easy, that you can just show up with your kids and not have to worry about the no fence or the parking's too close to the playground, or there's a pool in our case right next to the park, or a pond also in our case right next to the park, and no fence. So tell us a little bit how this started.
So Beckett's favorite things typically involve the outdoors, and so we spent a lot of time in his really tiny years going to the park and really enjoying that. And then we kind of noticed, as Beckett got older and bigger, that his favorite part, and slowly kind of encroached into being the trip to the park. He just enjoyed the walk there because there was less and less things for him to safely participate in. And it kind of pushed us to think outside the box about, well, if my kid has less and less options, what does that look like for other families that may or may not look like mine? Or whether that be developmental disabilities or physical disabilities, there's limitations across the board there. So doing some research on my own, we have about 300,000 people roughly in our city, and we have 93 parks here. And within those, we have one adaptive swing, one adaptive piece of equipment that's truly meant for.
And you're in Lincoln.
Yes, we're in the capital city. And
Oh my goodness.
So I wanted to reach out and find out who could get me more options, more, for my son. And I kind of wrote on my personal Facebook page, and I asked a general question to my friends, just saying, who would be the best person to contact to get additional equipment added to our local parks. And it kind of exploded from there, realizing that, he's of course not the only one, and we want that for everybody. So
I remember Bree reading one swing.
One.
Oh my God.
A
300,000
swing
people
in the
a
park.
swing.
Oh,
Why don't you
it's
make
terrible.
300,000 people wait for that swing? Because we're super good at waiting.
Oh yeah, waiting is
community.
our
Yeah.
We wonder where our kids get it from, right?
right. Oh,
But that's
So-
the coolest part, Bree. This is a series, as you know, called Hear Me Roar. And
Huh.
there's something about we could probably count on our 50 something episodes about 1.5 trillion problems that we've addressed, have
right.
figured out this is a problem in the community. But you went to Dr. Google for some statistics and then you took it further. And that's the thing that I applaud, because I know that
Yeah.
you sleep in a hallway. I know that you have a burden of a special circumstance in your life right now. I know that, and I say sleep in a hallway because you're that dedicated mom that's trying to hear and breathe through the door.
Yeah.
I know your life, and still you took action. Hear me roar, mama.
Love it.
Yeah, that's amazing, which had me just thinking, Brie. I don't think I'm in the largest tri-city outside of Vancouver. I mean, we're the fastest growing. I actually don't even know my population. Rachel could probably Google that faster than I could. I don't even know what my population is, and I don't know of a single adaptive piece of equipment anywhere.
See, and then
Anywhere.
this
Bizarre
made me
to
feel
me.
bad because in my area, we have parks. They're further out from us, but we have parks. And I'm always complaining about the fact that a lot of families take their typical children there, which is great. Like, it's an inclusive park for everyone, but they usually take over all the equipment that's for disabled children. And that so frustrates me. But then I'm reading about all you guys. I'm like, oh, I'm lucky to have anything at all. So I should stop complaining and
Well,
just be
I mean,
grateful.
I think it's a valid point though, that I don't think that the education is there. And so,
Mhm.
Other families aren't aware of, the particular use for this piece or that piece,
Yeah.
what have you. So,
Exactly. Like, look,
they
we
will-
can fit 13 people on this swing.
Yeah, they
But
wouldn't
really,
look
it's
at
2
it. Yeah.
wheelchairs.
They wouldn't look at it and know that it's an adaptive
Yes.
equipment. It would just be like this big giant swing, or
Right.
something
Actually,
with some extra
mean,
straps.
After I
There
said that, I
are-
do remember there is one park. There is one park. There's one
They were
park.
about to call you.
Yeah, they're about to call me. There's one park.
And I was gonna say there are signs on those swings, but I know little,
Little,
and it's not the little kids that frustrate me about it. It's like the parents that aren't doing anything, and there's a kid waiting in his wheelchair, and I'm like,
Yeah, get off the
Yeah.
swing.
Move.
The other thing too is, you have to wonder, and Brie, I don't know like how much, you got into the design of things, but you have to wonder who designs these parks. Even a kid's, we have this Langley Event Center. It's this beautiful park it's outdoors, but it's almost like it's indoor with the flooring and stuff. And it's open everywhere under this massive parking lot that goes under the busiest street in the
Oh my
freaking
God,
city.
same.
yeah.
And it's like,
same.
who designs these parks that
Yeah.
these children, yes, you're supposed to be watching your children. Have you met an autistic child? Those people can outrun Ben Johnson.
Oh
on
my
a
God.
Good day.
My
on a
son-
bad day.
My
I
son
mean,
can
You met
get,
any child? I mean, any 3-year-old?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
any
yeah,
3-year-old.
they're so fast. yeah,
so all of these parks that have these openings, I always think, God, who designed these things to
Oh my
begin
gosh.
with?
When we were working on Nixon's eloping like safety cues,
Mhm.
which we still work on, but I braved taking him and Nora to the park by myself. She was like walking. I'm like, okay, I don't have to carry anyone. Like, she can walk.
Oh,
Blah,
this will be
blah, blah.
easy.
Yeah. And I didn't think that, but I'm like, I can handle this. I did not think it was going to be easy, but I tried anyway. And the park was connected to a baseball field that had like open fencing. And then next to that was a school that was under construction with these giant freaking bulldozers and the glorious adventure ahead to go see the equipment. And so he takes off running. I'm like scooping her up under my arm. My kids aren't light. I'm like running after him with her under my arm.
Been there, been there, been
Yeah.
there.
There was like no fence. I'm like, what the? Why?
It
is
was
there
you,
not a fence?"
Tabitha. I was just thinking, someone had a story. They're like, stop her, stop him. Wasn't it you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
I
"Stop
have one of
driving."
those too.
Mm,
I
same.
have a few of those where I'm like, somebody please, like, there's obviously just a child running
I've
towards a
been
parking
like,
lot.
She's
Intervene.
wearing rain boots and glitter spray. And I'm like, tackle her. I don't care. Yeah.
People
Road
are
rash
afraid
is
they
better
don't-
than lost.
They don't want to touch someone else's kid. They're afraid they'll
Yeah.
get sued.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Just trick them. It's fine.
I will sue you if you don't tackle her.
I was
Thank you.
I was trying to use the safety cues that were not working at all. Stop! Stop!
That's
Well,
a
Bree, so
huge-
we want to endorse the large and barely see-through fence around your park, but I know that you've been working on each detail, and I know that you're hoping for a board that looks like a PEC system, so that as you enter the park, you can tell your mom what you want and dad what you're looking for and towards.
Yeah, tell us
Yeah.
about the specifics of it.
So I'm glad that you brought up the fencing because that was right up there at number one on our list. When all of this started, I am not naive. I know that I'm one parent. I know that I cannot single-handedly accomplish this. This is very much a team project. And so I kind of reached out to a local nonprofit for autism, and the president is now a good friend of mine. And she, no questions asked, no hesitation, jumped right in with me. And she was like, let's present this to Parks and Rec. Let's kind of get this started. I know that there's been several attempts by other parents in past decades, and it was denied essentially for, they didn't see the demand there. And I think that as, the years have gone by and statistics change and the evidence is there, that they're understanding how great that need is, especially in a city as large as ours. And, it goes all the way back to, we're really trying to nail into them that fencing is a huge thing, because neurotypical or developmental disability like autism, your kid can run off in any direction, and unless you're a track star, like, you're not catching Beckett. I can tell you right now, it's not going to happen.
Our kids are fast. Real
We had
fast.
to really drill into them that it's very much a two-person job, essentially, like, lack of a better word, for that outing. It's just, my husband needs to be on one end of the park and I have to be on the other. You almost need some rando person standing at the edge of the
We'd like to
slide.
rent a third, please.
Yeah, right.
exactly.
Where do we get one of those?
Yeah.
I have to say here, I'm sure there's places that have the adaptive equipment. There is a place that has a swing near here, but almost all our playgrounds are fenced in.
That's great.
It's probably because they're so cheap here that, like, you also have to go to the schools to use the playground. Like the school
trying to keep
playgrounds
the
double as
riffraff
like the
out.
Our
public
Yeah.
school
playground.
playgrounds aren't enclosed either. None of
Yeah.
our school
Oh.
playgrounds are
Oh
enclosed.
my
All the playgrounds
Ours
that I can think
didn't
of
used to
that
be, but now they are.
around here are all, except for, like, we have a couple that are like at the beach. Those ones are open, obviously, because it's like, but I feel like even though those have like a smaller playground within the playground that's fenced. So
Have you ever
Ours
really
are-
jealous
we
of a
have-
yoga mom where you're sitting there at the park and
Oh
they're
my God,
sitting
the
there
yoga.
drinking their friggin'
First of all,
Starbucks with
sitting
their
at the park.
sunglasses on, and you're running around like dripping in sweat, trying to
Yes.
catch
even when
your little
nothing's
person.
happening, because it's like you're anticipating it. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
Yeah.
even
Oh,
when
yeah.
they're fine, you're like,
Yeah.
So at
Yeah.
least if it was enclosed, you might be able to sit at least because your kid can't get out. So
Oh,
yeah,
or you only have to block like a 3-foot entrance and
yeah,
exit.
not like all these open
Like,
areas.
let me just stand by this one.
Bree, we can't wait to see your fence.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Go fence.
Yeah.
Go
It
fence.
sounds like there will be nothing in it, but I promise that's not where it ends. But
Who
we're
cares,
real
Bree? If it's
excited.
just a circle enclosed, girl, you did it.
Hey,
You did it.
You're
I will
welcome,
sub my
moms.
husband out to do fences everywhere.
Yes, Bree.
It's amazing.
No, we need
I would
Neil's help.
suggest a coffee hut outside of said fenced spot.
Oh, if I had my
Brilliant.
way, I tell you, there'd be
Yeah.
a Scooters or Starbucks or some kind of drive-through.
I'll send
out
you a
the
business
thing.
proposal for that.
Hey,
So what
girl.
did you have to do? So you went to the Parks and Rec, and what did you have to propose to them?
So we kind of had to give a literal presentation saying, hey, I did some research around, surrounding cities around us and towns, even with populations less than even a fourth of ours, that have either more single pieces of adaptive equipment or that have
Mhm.
an entire fully inclusive playground at their disposal within their city. And I just wanted to reiterate to them how far behind we are as a city. We are behind the ball. We are severely lacking, and our kids are not being made a priority. And so we kind of just told them, hey, there's nothing like this here. You know, we really could make this a destination. You know, there's lots of families that come from around here for various
Medical
training and-
appointments.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Different therapies. And
Mhm.
this could be so beneficial for, you know, because we have to drive right now so far to get to anything like that. There are, like I said, there's ones around us, but they're not, you know, they're a drive. So we just kind of said, there's nothing like this here. Please help us out. And they listened. I think they heard us, you know, to an extent. But like I said, back to the education portion of all this, I think there's only so much they can understand because they admittedly don't have any experience with the world of disabilities. They don't.
You're
they're
like,
not
you want to do a
impacted.
sleepover?
Right. Come on over. You can sit in the hallway with me at 2:30 in the morning. So, you know, they understand to an extent. They're trying to be understanding. They're trying to get it. We've gotten to the point of we created a work committee where we all, you know, different walks of life. There's a few parents such as myself and different advocates from, you know, we've got people from the blind community, the deaf community. We want literally all ages and all abilities to be able to use this. And that's not something I don't know that there's really anything that's been done that way before as far as all ages go. You
I
know,
was just gonna say that.
yeah, I don't
That's
think
key.
that there really is, you know, because it's not fair. You know, we see these signs all the time that say this playground is for ages 5 to 12 or, you know, whatever the ages are. And that's all fine and dandy. But reality is
Our
my
kids grow up.
son's interests very well may stay the same
Mhm.
that they are now when he's 30 or 40 or however old. You know,
Yeah.
the likelihood of it changing, you know, are somewhat slim at this point.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's still going to want to swing. He's still going to want to go down the slide. And what do you do with a 6 foot tall, 250-pound individual if they are now excluded simply because of their age and their size? That's not, you know, that's not inclusive then. That doesn't, if there's a cutoff for an age or a cutoff for a weight or a cutoff for certain abilities, then that's not inclusive. That's not for everyone.
Right.
That's really cool. Our parks don't do that. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that is fantastic. It just made me think about, you know, we all know there's not a lot of places that our kids enjoy going, you know, in general. And when we find something in Chuck E. Cheese or something that Kaya loves, but all of the rides will say only up, you know, eight years. Well, what does years mean? Listen, you can go ahead and tell my kid to get off that carousel. I dare you. There's nothing else in here she likes to do, but she's literally not supposed to be on it because she's 11. I
Right,
still
and
let
I
her
mean-
go on it, by the way. Don't care.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because I don't know. I mean, I think that that's somewhat of a understood topic, but you know, you're often going to see a 20-year-old that could have the cognitive ability of a 5, 6, 7, 12-year-old, you know, so it doesn't matter what your appearance is, but your appearance is not going to always match your
Right.
ability.
Yeah.
So
Or
it's-
your wants.
It's your need.
Or your wants. Yeah.
even.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
or
daughter
needs, yeah.
needs a goddamn swing that she can fit in that doesn't like squeeze her cakes.
Yeah.
And those cakes were the size of a woman when she was 5. So tell
Yeah.
me, 5, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking that because on the playground that I just spoke of that we go to, it does have age limits on it, which I never actually really thought about, Bree, until now. But
A lot of that I think comes down to liability, like in terms
Mhm.
of policy and stuff. Like a company's things would be weighted to a certain amount.
Yeah.
or
For
like-
safety. Yeah.
well, I
And
think they're
like, the
generalizing though,
city
that
has
an
to-
8-year-old's gonna weigh this, a 5-year-old's gonna weigh this.
course they
you
are,
know,
yeah.
Right, which
Also,
I know
I
is why
think
the carousel at Chuck E.
Autism
Cheese
is like, watch this.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and older
Yeah.
kids are so rough, like in general, like and a lot of
Yeah.
times they're not supervised. Like obviously we're supervising our kids, but like in general speaking, you get those group of kids that are like 12 and 13 and they're not supervised and they come in and they
Right,
wreck stuff.
right.
So like I think a lot of it is more towards that or just a safe space for the younger kids to be able to go to like at certain parks and stuff. But we ran into this where Alyssa was at one of those indoor places that have like the slides and stuff, and she was with her babysitter and she didn't realize there was an age thing on it and they wouldn't bend, they wouldn't let her. And I think it was like 17 and she was like 18. Like it was,
Oh,
and
God.
they wouldn't let her,
Who's
they wouldn't let her
policing
go
that?
on. It's like
Yeah, who's
so
policing that
stupid. Like
exactly?
it wasn't things that I understand, like Alyssa at 25 can't maybe go on like those little motorized rides at the mall anymore. Like she will probably break them. So like I understand, although she may not understand, I understand that. But like these was not equipment that would like, this was durable stuff that like, I mean, if a 17-year-old can go on it, pretty much anybody can go on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, and I think too, for a lot of us, is a place where we take our kids to get regulated. If you're
Mhm.
having a really, like for my kids, especially if they're having a hard day and we get outside, it can flip the whole script of the day. It can
Mhm.
change everything that's happening in our house just by being outside and being able to like be free and do what they want and be in a space and, you know,
Let
feel
it
the
buck.
earth. Yeah, do whatever. So worrying about safety when you have this place that you need to go to like reset your energy is hard.
I
'Cause
mean,
you
I
want-
remember trying to get from the car to the park,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
dangerous.
Oh
in
my
the
God,
parking
yes.
lot. And then again, getting into the park area and then worrying about getting out of it because
Yeah.
there's like, you know, it's just
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
it comes
still
all
have
the
that.
way. We discussed all of that all the way down to, I think we almost blew their minds discussing things like restrooms. We were very adamant that incontinence is a popular topic amongst different disabilities, and we were trying to explain the importance of having family styled
Yes.
restrooms
Changing rooms, yeah.
so that, you know,
Or
dad can take his
bathrooms, yeah.
daughter or
Yes,
grandma can
yes,
take
yes,
her
yes, yes.
grandson. all
Any
these things.
caregiver
Well,
can
Lisa
take
from Cody
anybody's
Speaks
need,
talks about
yes.
it. You know, if Cody has to go to the washroom and it's just her, she has to take him. So she's taken a 20-plus-year-old man into a bathroom. You know what I mean? So that's a perfect
But then
thing, Brie, that
add
you're working
incontinence
towards.
to it, and you're talking about changing a person on a floor of an outside bathroom.
Exactly.
Yes.
That is despicable, and
Yes,
certainly
yes.
isn't meeting the needs of the people in the park.
Right.
I don't
we
even
put
think
a
our
lot
parks,
of-
any of our parks have bathrooms, to be honest.
They do
So-
here.
Goodness.
What's
Some
going
do,
on
some
in
don't.
Some do,
Massachusetts,
some
but-
don't. If
Yeah.
it's a park that has like a
Well, you
field
have your
attached, like a
fence, so why
soccer
don't you
field.
just?
Oh yeah, you take your fence, Kimmy. You can just
Yeah.
go in a
Well,
corner
you know.
in your fenced area.
We go to the nicer city that's a few miles away, and they all have bathrooms at their parks. Ours have like porta potties.
Yeah,
that's what the one that's attached to the soccer fields have.
we have
Yeah.
some that do and some that don't.
It also says culturally to the community that there's eyes on you. Like
Mhm.
to meet a whole need, so that it isn't a swing for 300,000 people,
Right.
but that it's the first of many parks, hopefully, that help to honor the whole family at this place. Like, get the goddamn bathroom.
Bree,
There
and
was-
I don't know if you can answer this or somebody else, but I don't know what adaptive equipment, I mean, I'm out of the loop. They didn't have these things on.
Oh, girl, I will
Most of the
send you a video of
I know
Seeley
of
at
just the-
Madison's playground. It is.
I know
something.
the high back chairs they have, like I know the swings, but what other things do?
There's like zip lines on a chair. There's, it looks like a mega seesaw, like almost like a senior living place might have one as well, where you can wheel on with a wheelchair from like the actual level of. So you wheel on, strap down, like there's particular places to strap a chair, and then you can swing.
that same realm, there's like it's called a spinner. So it's like a zero entry, like everything's zero entry that's on the ground. So they're wheelchair accessible. So it's kind of like a merry-go-round that wheelchairs can wheel right onto, and then they can attach to said equipment and stay safe in that regard. It's just, it kind of blows my mind how there's no understanding and there's kind of a bare minimum kind of consensus between, standards.
Supplying and providing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I
it's
think like ours
well,
too has that kind of stuff, but it also has like more sensory friendly stuff and more like
gonna say
some
that.
of it's not even like equipment you get on. It's just like, I mean, all our parks kind of have like musical things and stuff, but our inclusive parks just have more of that because there's some kids that don't like to do that. Or
Swing.
we literally
Yeah.
have like a slide thing that you can like roll a
It's
kid
got the
over.
roller too. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's like not necessarily a slide, but it's like just straight across. But they can get on it and they can go across if they can't do the slide. And they also have the slide, so they just like different options.
Like they can do it on their bottom.
So like
Yeah.
Celie
There are
goes on that
some.
roller on her belly. She goes on her back. She
Yeah,
like
on the belly.
kicks herself. She makes
Oh, there's a
friends
roller.
dragging
Gotcha.
each other. There's also like to James' point about all the sensory stuff. In one of the biggest, most updated parks near our family, there's like big, huge tunnels where they're super tall instead of being so tight. And then in that space is crystally looking glass pieces. Really, I'm sure it's much safer than glass. Of course. That. But there's like almost like
Shards of
stained glass
Plastic.
little plastics.
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on. And like all the jewels and all the drums and all the things that like allow for imaginative play and
Yeah.
input and sound. I mean, just all.
And just like that, not like wood chips, or it's like that. What do you call
Foamy
it? There's
recycled.
Yeah, can we stop with the wood
rubbers.
chips? Our kids put that
Oh,
stuff in their mouths.
Pika
And their hair,
Pika.
it's a
the
sensory,
sand.
yes.
And
Stop
it's
with the wood
impossible
chips.
to push a wheelchair across. So you
Oh,
can't.
Yeah, I
you know,
never even thought about that, Brie. It
You
needs to
kinda
be
get
that
a-
soft
yeah.
padded foam almost.
Yeah, and if in a perfect world, if I were to completely design this park on my own and I just kind of drew something out, I wouldn't have any stairs. I wouldn't have, it'd be like a very universal
ours.
level, because if in my mind, if there is a point where your child can hold the hand of another person and that person has to stop and your child can keep going, that's not inclusive. There should be parallel play all the way through, or you're leaving somebody behind.
Mhm.
I was gonna say that about ours too. So there's like stairs, but there's also like a hill. So you just run up the hill if you want to get, or you can push a wheelchair up that hill. Like it's not a very steep slide, but there's like different options of how to get to things too, so
Mhm.
that everyone is able to do that. But I was gonna say overall, like my favorite thing about the inclusion parks is like having a place to go where it's not crazy that my kid's screaming, or it's not crazy that my kid's running off. Like to this day, when I get to the park, if we go to the park, like once you go to the park, you're going. If your kid knows you're going to the park, you're
Go to
going.
the
There's no
park, you're
stopping.
going. Sorry.
And if I get to
Even
the park,
if you say parking lot,
yes.
you still having to go to the goddamn park.
Yeah.
And if I pull up and there's like 20 kids, my heart
Mm.
sinks. Like
Mhm, mhm.
Same, Jane.
at like a
same.
regular park, not at the inclusion park, because I just know my son doesn't understand how to like interact with other kids. And so it means I'm really in there, I'm involved, I'm gonna get looks, my kid's gonna get looks. So that's my favorite thing about the inclusion park, is that you can go and everybody's welcome, and it's okay. Like if your kid's screaming, it's okay if your kid's like jumping, clapping, or anything else, like everyone's kind of welcome there. And that's obviously all the equipment is very important, and having a safe place is very important, but it's just so nice to have a place where you belong.
Mhm.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I very much took that approach with Parks and Rec, and I kind of said, if you create this community, this destination right in the midst of everything, and you have that full intention of, people have that understanding, that unspoken understanding that if I bring my family here, I'm going to encounter varying disabilities. I'm going to encounter, all walks of life, all ages, and it kind of promotes that education on its own. And then you can take that with you to other parks that are trying to kind of implement it that slowly.
We
as
have
they
lots that's
change.
kind of like in the rules fundamentally as you walk through the gate, like,
Mhm.
the gate that clips way up here, Brie, the one,
Yeah. At the very top.
the one that you have to like stomp twice, hop once, do the diddle D, and then you
Secret
can
code.
do the clamp.
Yeah.
That part,
Wink 4 times.
right by that is the sign that says the rules, like golden rule style rules, not
So-
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went and did the presentation to the Parks and Rec, and then what did they say?
They said, "We hear you." I think that they kind of came
Right.
at it from an approach of, yeah, we totally were thinking about that. We totally want to do that. And we're like, ooh, but you didn't. So here we are.
code for you.
I have to
that's so
assume
done, we're
funding
not
was the
gonna say
first
no.
issue. This
Yeah.
like city, right? Funding.
Of course.
And so let's say you get over that hurdle. What was the big
It's definitely in their ear. We have since kind of connected with a city council member here that feels equally as strongly as we do about this project, and he kind of took it to city council with a vote that passed that granted us kind of our first $100,000 allocated
Amazing.
towards adaptive equipment itself for the city.
buy you one
So-
rope for that that swing.
Yeah.
1,001 rope, you're getting there. Getting there.
Yeah.
That's so good though. Do you have land?
Amazing.
Like, do you have the spot already?
We are currently voting. It's kind of that battle right now of which park it would go best in. So we've at the last meeting, the last work committee meeting, we were explaining the reasoning for eliminating all the parks that have a lake that have,
Ugh, please.
you know, I thought that that was a given, but nope. I'm like, hey, even if there's one entrance and it's like 3 inches wide, my kid will find his fun
Yes.
through there towards the water. So,
Bri, at any point, did you find that they were like having a hard time
Grasping
imagining
what you were saying.
what you were talking about?
I do. I think that, and again, I know I'm like a broken record, but I really think it's about the education of it, because I think
Mhm.
people understand to a point. They understand that we want what they have. We want what the, you know, whatever they want.
It's actually
We
not
want
even that we
this
want what
feeling.
they have. It's our children should
Right.
have the same opportunities
Absolutely.
as a neurotypical child, which by the way could go do any freaking thing in the world they want.
Right.
My kid just wants to be on that dang swing.
Right. It's like it's so limited, the options. The thing that my son finds joy in are the list is quite short at this
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like electronics or a walk, or, you know, like I said, spending time outdoors is a huge thing. But he's a big sensory seeker, so spinning, swinging, he pulls enjoyment from that, but he also uses it to regulate, like we
To
talked
regulate.
about,
Mhm.
where,
Yeah.
you know, it really brings him back down when he's really struggling and he's
Mhm.
having those
Mm.
hard days. So it's hard to kind of advocate and push for something that our city doesn't have, while ultimately trying to get them to understand the need for it in the first place, because they don't understand why. They don't think that there's, you know, they don't think that it'll get a huge amount of use. They don't think that there's a huge population for this when the numbers are only growing, you know.
Autism's like,
I was gonna
what's
say, have they
this?
Googled one in
It's
42
only the most
children? I mean,
prevalent
Well,
disability
and
in the
not
whole
only that,
world.
but how many kids that are neurotypical are there that could have sensory issues? Like, you don't have to have a
Right.
disability
Right.
or have,
yeah.
you know, motor planning issues, or
Need PT for
it's
whatever
gotta get
reason.
used
Yeah.
regardless. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It'll be used by the people that are at the park, no matter
Yeah.
what. It's not like a neurotypical kid's gonna be like, oh, we don't. They're gonna probably gravitate more towards that stuff than like, yeah.
Yeah, they'll use it probably just as much as
Which is
and
funny
then
'cause-
it gives our kids a opportunity to be with their peers, you know, to be with
Mhm.
kids their age who may not have a disability or do have a disability, you know, mix the communities, because that's who's going to be out venturing
world.
in the world together. Yeah.
I was gonna say that just when you were mentioning like the merry-go-round that someone on a wheelchair can get on ours there's like a bench, so the person in the wheelchair can be on and then other kids can sit on, and I just love that.
Yeah.
And we brought it
But
to
I
their
think-
attention as well. You know, it's not just about, I mean, we focus on our kids because that's the life that we know. That's the story
Mhm.
that's engraved in our day to day. But it's also, you know, someone brought to my attention from our little kind of private committee that we kind of teamed up with different parents and things like that, that the parent is actually the one with a disability, and she couldn't get to her child if something
Yeah.
happened. Like if
Oh,
you
yeah.
scrape your knee or break your arm, God forbid, like it's like, how do you get to your child if it's nothing more than, you know,
Or needs to have an
accessible to the bare minimum, you know?
Yeah,
That's
That's a
not.
good point. too.
Yes, then you can't take your kid to the park
Mhm.
because it's not safe for them.
And someone recently said something to me that really stuck with me. She said people tend to think that if a person has a disability and nothing's on fire at the moment, then everything is fine. But that's not living to just be. You know, we're talking about quality of life here. They deserve to experience play and excitement and joy in this life just like anybody else does.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you'll hear
Well,
people all the time like, oh, we can't go to that park because there's a lake there, or this or that. And you'll hear from other people like, well, just keep your kid home. And it's like, so you want our kids to just be at home the rest of their lives, hiding away? Like,
That's
no,
not
we
Well,
living, you know?
yes.
And what about their siblings? So now their siblings also have to be hidden away because, you know, you don't necessarily have somebody who can stay with the other child while you take
Right.
the sibling, and nor would you want to do that as a
Yeah.
parent. But
Yeah.
Yeah, like Kim, you stayed home with your 4 kids. You couldn't leave 3 of them alone to take Alyssa to an adaptive park. I mean,
or leave Alyssa
vice
home to take the
versa.
other kids.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
You
And
shouldn't
that's
have
where,
to
like, I think
separate
some
your
of the
family.
adaptive equipment is like, so like, you know, like the wheelchair swings, an older child, they're more durable. Like an older child can be on them. So that's something good for, you know, Alyssa, say, doesn't have physical disability. She's not in a wheelchair, but like she's older. And also it doesn't seem as odd to people for her to be in that type of swing as like on like a, some younger equipment or something.
Yeah.
I know that
There's
shouldn't
even-
matter, but like, that's just
Well, someone
That's
mentioned
some
the
of the stuff
equipment.
that breaks you down.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
the looks, I mean, over time, all the time,
Well,
there's swings here that allow you to sit. Sorry, Jen, there's
No, it's
swings here that allow you to sit with your kids. So like I can be with Celie
Mhm.
or like, I mean, there's just so many options that
Yeah. I mean, it's all about parallel play. That is the biggest thing that we have found through this whole process of speaking to, the engineers and the people that actually put this stuff together, and that the purchasing, the people that goes through. It's all about parallel play and playing eye to eye and playing next to each other. So, if my 6-year-old son with autism is playing next to a 20-year-old with autism, or a 10-year-old in a wheelchair, or a, whatever the ability, it's really important that that's made mainstream, that's made the norm, if you will. Like if that's, that needs to be what the world looks at as normal, because I mean, what does that even mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what does normal even mean?
We
Well,
don't know.
Rachel, I think you said, or someone said, you're getting looked at, and I can't believe we have none here. Yeah, we do. We have one. But for the size of our city, to have one. But now that you mentioned the wheelchairs, there's this big, almost saucer, which is adaptive for them to get in. All of the, there's almost ramps that go up through all of the stuff so wheelchairs can get in. And I just remember being on this, I went once or twice with Kaya, but I just felt so comfortable, because every family there, whether it was a child in a wheelchair or a child with autism or a child with hearing, whatever it was, we were all special needs parents. And so I just didn't worry about anything. I didn't care about her. Not that let me be clear, I don't give two rips about what she does anyway. Even has a problem with it, they can beat it. But it's just to be in that place, you just feel a little more comfortable, with other families.
Yeah.
You just kind of get that nod to a mom or.
Oh yeah. And you
know.
get that out in the community. I took the kids, it was shortly after Nora's diagnosis, and I was kind of like in a fog at that point, and we went to the park, and there was he must have been in his 20s. I mean, I can't say for sure that he was autistic, but I'm 100% sure he was autistic, because I didn't ask his dad. But he was stimming and on the regular swings where all the kids are whipping around him, and he's just laughing and swinging, and his dad was like leaned up against the tree watching, and you could just feel the energy of like a person who his child has grown through this life, and they've been out in the community, and they have that skin that's like shed, that they're not like taking in anything that's going on in the environment, and just he was watching his son swing on the swings as a grown man and getting joy himself out of it. And it kind of like gave me a perspective into the future, that you don't have to like have the views of everyone's eyes on you. It was really beautiful, actually. And people who aren't in our community should be seeing things like that out in the community. If you have an inclusive park where other people can come, then you're going to see part of the magic that exists in our lives out in the community. So it's pretty
I think
incredible.
that's beautiful, because when we know better, we do better, right? So
Yeah.
if you're witnessing that everywhere you go, and that's the new reality for everyone, and that's something that you see on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't stand out. It's not, I want my son to have somewhere that he can feel is his. It's very, very important for me when I am gone, that my son has somewhere that he can go and be himself and stim and swing, and no one's going to give him a second look. No one's going to think that that's odd or strange, or
they'll
pick
be
on
like double taking. Is this the kid who's in this park?
yeah, there's
Hear
gonna be
her
good
roar.
whispers.
His mom now.
Oh my God, is that that lady?
So is the goal of an
Thank
inclusive
you.
park
Yeah.
to be geared just for the children with disabilities, or is it
For everyone.
or is it for everyone? Yeah.
Very much everybody. I think, we don't ever want to count anybody out. I think the intention behind it is to support those with disabilities, because that's so lacking, and that's not something that we see,
absolutely.
because the choices are so limited everywhere you go, as you guys know. So but of course we want to, I think that's how we ultimately teach
Everyone.
other people's children the importance of that, and
Absolutely,
kind of push that. So yeah, I mean, I think that the intent is there.
And you're
to
taking an
support that.
everybody park
Yeah.
and trying to make it inclusive by adding other equipment. not building.
That's what I was trying to say.
a-
Thank you.
Yeah,
Rachel.
instead of segregating our kids.
So
Right.
like
Even
in a
more.
community that we had lived in, there was like a right outside of a hospital, like a, I'm making this up, like 40 by 50 playground, inclusive playground. And it was much more playground for kids with disabilities than it was a fully inclusive, like room for everyone. Hey, let's have the whole community come and play. So
Yeah.
to your point, Kim, I think that there probably is some of both, but because
Well, I was just
Bree's-
going on what Jen was saying, how it was, you go there and there's all other, moms with kids with disabilities. So I didn't know if there were parks that were,
a
you know.
mix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one is the one I'm referring to. It is a park specifically for special needs children, but it's for families. So obviously,
Mhm.
there's multiple children.
Right.
Like my friend Nicole that took me, her son's autistic, her daughter's neurotypical, but she found this park and it's great because it's adaptive for her son and
Yeah,
her
yeah.
other child can have a good time. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically where you are with the park stages,
Action.
action is that you got $100,000 dropped in the pan from the city council. Yay.
Yee-hoo, that guy.
Woo-hoo, wootin' ya on that. And the equipment is going to be purchased for parks in the community or a park.
So that was the first debate that we kind of had as a work committee was, do we put this effort into quadrants in the city, kind of disperse it accordingly, or do we put this all into one more destination type of a park? And for us, we would rather see it go towards this very large, rather playground, so that again, that parallel play is so important, so that that kind of understanding is there, that the opportunity is there, so that you don't have to go across town if your child really loves this kind of equipment, or if,
Right.
again, to prevent further segregating and spacing everyone out, that's
I love that.
really
Great.
difficult on families. So we'd rather see that kind of effort go into a large destination. And then as, because here it's our understanding that parks typically have about a 25-year lifespan and then they need renovated. So when parks come up and they're due or overdue for their kind of overhaul, then we expect of them to then make those parks inclusive as well. So we want to go from one large that we have existing to then trickling down to every other park that we have eventually as they
And
They're
better.
definitely going to take double takes at Beckett for the rest of his
Yeah,
life.
yeah, they are. And I think where you can probably speak better to this than I can. I know that Kaya's school last year, the one she attended, the pack leader was fantastic. They needed new equipment on the playground. There's no money for new equipment. She literally single-handedly helped this fundraise. She pounded the doors for money. It was over $300,000 for a tiny piece of equipment. Like, it is astronomical to replace. So of course, it's not just the equipment. They had to replace the flooring. They have to replace all of the things that come with it. But it was a lot of money for a tiny, and I when it went up, I went, oh, that's it? That's all of that for that? But so $100,000 is a lot of money, but it's really not a lot of money in the grand
I'll
scheme of
help
what
you
you're
write
trying
some
to do.
corporate letters.
100%. I
Bezos,
mean,
we need to get
Hey, Jeff.
Jeff. Can you donate some equipment? I'm sure Amazon has something on the Amazon Prime.
You
could
could
get-
drop it from orbit.
I mean,
fine.
if we're speaking realistically in money terms, $100,000 is amazing. I mean, that's great.
Amazing.
We are beyond
Yes,
grateful for that.
fantastic start.
It really
Fantastic.
was like a big roll down the hill for us to get that momentum. But
Yeah.
if we break that apart, that will probably get you about 4 pieces of adaptive equipment.
On no ground.
So that will fill like an eighth of the park. So that's great. But there's the flooring, there's the restrooms, there's the paving, there's the ramps,
Yeah.
there's the all
Yes.
these things.
The
extended parking.
fence.
The fence.
The fence.
Yeah,
Well, that's the other
okay.
thing is where they put the new equipment, it disrupted the track, and so that had to be reshifted. So there was a lot of
Yeah.
other things that went into that cost, but the cost of that equipment is not cheap.
Yeah.
Any of
The
the-
cost of doing is not cheap.
Yeah.
We
Any
figure that we
construction
just,
workers in this area want to donate
I was gonna
your
say,
time?
you gotta get some,
yeah,
about, like,
Adaptive Park
yeah,
some
anyone out
cement,
there
we really want to
for
pour.
this podcast.
Just so you know, how we did it here was we legalized marijuana and not all of it. Some of the tax money also went towards school. But I'm not kidding.
No, it's
Most
real.
of that tax money went to
Yep.
our parks, and they redid
Amazing.
all of our parks. I'm not kidding. Like all our parks are so nice, and they built all these adaptive
People just
parks.
got happy and built
So-
parks.
Yes, just get high.
And
They
you
need a
get a
place to
park, and
swing.
you get a park.
We have a
And
whole
you
new rec
get a
center.
park.
A whole
Everybody
new
at
rec
the
center.
park.
They call it the marijuana rec center. That's what they call that.
Fantastic.
Go
Not
green
called
in
that.
Colorado.
That is not called that, but that's what people call it.
It's not called that.
That's what people call it. She said.
The thing
Uh,
is, Bree, is that I've been in a couple of like the workings of some nonprofit companies,
Mhm.
and gosh, a corporate sponsor goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
Company
I think-
matches. I mean, there's like lots of ways to fundraise.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
and
like
end
I
of the
said,
year,
we're
tax
not a.
write-offs is a good time to hit people up too, because these big
She
corporations.
says
they
on
do
January
rates.
3rd.
I know, sorry, we should have done this one last year, ladies.
Get those donations done at the beginning of the year, then you don't
Yeah,
have
Yeah,
to
like
worry
they're
in
hitting them up
December.
fresh. It's
Yeah,
good.
Lincoln.
Get it together, Lincoln. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we kind of won them over ultimately, was that I don't know how else to say it other than we're not honestly concerned about the fundraising portion, because we are a big city. I mean, we rally around each other. You know, I think that the
Mhm.
help is there, the funding is there. We've got big money here. I mean,
Just say
It's-
yes.
and yeah, I mean, it's about who you know, right? So I went to who I know. I went to this amazing person that's helping me get this whole project off the ground, and in turn, we are not even on the full fundraising stage yet, because we don't have those pamphlets printed out. We don't have our, to give that
Mhm.
physical proof of this is what we really want to do.
Yeah, here's what
And-
it's looking for. Here's where
Yeah.
your money's gonna go. Yeah.
And we already have all of these, companies and even individuals from families coming out of the woodwork to say, hey, I really
Yay.
want to invest in this. I really think what you're doing is special. I think it's important, and I want to be part of that. How can I help? So we've already had, just
Bingo.
tonight, I
Amazing.
went, my husband's own company was our first,
I love this.
it was our first business to reach out and say, hey, throw in an application, because our grant cycle-
mom?
heard
that
you're
doing this thing.
I heard this is for Beckett, so what's up? Here's
Yeah.
some money we want to throw at that. So his company, we put in a little application with some grant writing friends, and they said, hey, we think that this is special, we think this is great, we hear you, we see you, here's X amount of, so they gave us $20,000 towards this project.
Boom.
And
Yeah.
In one of
Yay.
those big checks.
yeah, we took pictures with a big old check tonight. It was the
Oh
most
my
fun
God,
ever.
I love
Gosh,
it.
I
was the
can't wait to
best.
see those pictures.
It was
That's
great. It was kind of
awesome.
surreal.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the thing, is like people always say, like, it
It's so
starts
hard,
with one
but-
person.
Mhm.
It starts with one person
Just
and
one
an
lady
idea.
leaning in the hall.
Period. That's it. I mean,
Right.
like, people don't believe that they themselves can make change. All the change in this world
Mhm.
comes from quieted voices getting louder. That's it. Quieted
that.
voices getting louder, and one person deciding to put in the effort. That's it.
Small group
Yeah.
of organized
Taking
people.
names.
Making
Yes.
change,
Yeah.
taking names. I love it.
Bree, we need you to say, "Hear me roar, Lincoln."
Hear me roar, Lincoln.
Come
Yeah.
on. I just think it's really amazing, and it's incredible. Mom doing things. Anyone out there, if you want this in your community,
Do it.
shoot a DM over to Brianna Olson.
That's
She'll
like,
give you the
oh,
details.
got this.
Yeah, she'll tell you. We love having you on the page, and your writing. If you haven't read anything of hers, please go over to her page, because she is a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
writer.
yes, you're a beautiful
Many-
writer.
Descriptive.
Many times I've sobbed through her pieces.
Yes,
So,
me too.
Thank you.
in a way that isn't good for your heart. So if you need some inspiration and some of that, go check out To Infinity and Beyond Words on Instagram and Facebook. And then DM her if you want to figure out how to get an inclusive park in your neighborhood. You're
Yeah,
an
I'd love to
area.
know.
Congratulations, Brianna. That is
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Thank you so
Girl,
much,
girl.
and thank you for
one hell
having
of
me.
an accomplishment.
Check us out next time for our next episode with Lindsay. We're gonna get a background on her company, The Pampered Parent, which you all, if you listen to our podcast, have heard our ads of her company and how much we love her. So check us for that episode coming at you next. Episode 3. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Having me.
Thank you for joining us at the table for Making Change, Taking Names, an interview with Brianna Olson, the second episode of our 8th series, Hear Me Roar. If you are enjoying the podcast and where you're listening allows, we would appreciate if you could rate and review us. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can also email us at table45podcast@gmail.com. We have new episodes every Monday. Join us next Monday for an interview with Lindsay San, a BCBA and the founder of The Pampered Parent. We can't wait to sit with you then. We'll see you at the table. Bye.